The forensic examination of documents has evolved from basic microscopy to a sophisticated intersection of chemistry, digital forensics, and mechanical analysis. Whether a document is produced by a high-end laser printer, a vintage photocopied machine, or exists solely in the digital realm, forensic examiners look for anomalies that betray the document's true history. In printed document examination, modern printing techniques leave behind specific signatures that can be used to identify the brand, the model, and sometimes the exact unit used. For example, a laser printing. This is identified by toner scatter. Laser printers use a fusel to melt plastic-based toner onto the paper. In inkjet printing, this is characterized by feathering, that is the ink bleeding into paper fibers, and a lack of physical impression in the paper. Another thing you can use during printed document examination is machine identification codes. MIC, machine identification codes. Many color laser printers embedded microscopic yellow dots in a grid pattern. These codes are so minute that you cannot see them with ordinary eyes unless you use some technical means. These dots encode the printer's serial number and the day, the time of printing, that can enable you to link the document to a particular printer. So how do we check, or how do we reveal these dots? Because they are not visible to the naked eyes. To check the machine identification code, or yellow dots, call them yellow dots, or machine identification code, to check them on a document, we have to examine it under blue light or scan it at high resolution of about 600 plus dpi. Put the yellow channel in image software, revealing a grid of yellow dots. These dots are often arranged in a repeating pattern that encodes the printer's serial number along with the date and time of printing. Let's move to photocopy document examination. Photocopies are often used in fraud because they can hide cut and paste alterations better than original documents. However, the photocopy process itself leaves a trail. So these trails are what we use to use for examination, for forensic examination of a photocopied document. The first one that I mentioned is a trash marks. Trash marks. These trash marks are the dots, the scratches or dirt on the glass platen or the internal drum of a photocopier that create consistent spots on every page produced. This acts as a mechanical fingerprint. At times the dot may be so small that you may not be able to notice it just ordinarily like that. But if you look at it closely, especially with magnifying device like your magnifying lens, you can see it clearly. And the good thing about it is that this, if 1,000 pages are printed on that same machine, that spot will be produced on each page at a particular distance, at the same distance from the edge of the paper to the place where you have the dot. You have the same distance. So you can, it is easy to use this one, this mechanical fingerprint, to link a document to a particular machine. Another thing we are going to consider is toner gradation. That is On every photocopy, or photocopies usually have higher contrast than originals. Subtle gradients in a signature often disappear, appearing as solid black blocks, which can signal a reproduction. As you see it on the screen, look at your screen. Look at the screen. Look at the screen, and by the right hand side, you see a document. You see this document on the screen. The spot you have there, the spot that you have there, if this one can be used to link the document to a particular machine, because if 1,000 pages or more are printed on the same machine, as long as the all the parts are still intact, you see that they will be having that all the pages will be having this same spot on the same distance from the edge of the paper, or from the bottom of the paper. Whichever way you measure the distance, you are going to have them at the same spot, at the same distance every time on each paper, or I mean on each page. Another thing we look for is we use is edge borders. So we look for ghost lines or slight misalignment at the edges of text blocks, which indicate that a signature or paragraph was physically pasted onto a master sheet before being copied. So this you can see in photocopier, where the signature is copied from another document to that forged document. Then you see ghost lines. The ghost line appear as a misalignment, and this is a kind of, at times you see a kind of a whitish line around the signature, around the stroke of the signature. That's what you call a ghost line, either the signature or text. So when they are pasted from another place, this is part of what you see. So the edge borders can be a red flag to a forged photocopied document. Now let's move to digital document examination. Digital document examination is the virtual side of document forensics. The virtual side of document forensics. It focuses on the code and metadata rather than physical substrate. Metadata is the data of data that is on every page, on every document that you have, on every page of every document, or on every document that is produced by any machine, like maybe your laptop, your desktop, your tab, your phone, any device that you are using. Every document that is produced by that document, we have what you call metadata. That metadata is the information about so many things, or about the history of the document. For example, there inside the metadata, you have the date of production, of creation. You have the modified date if it has been modified. You have the time. You have the machine, the name of the machine that produces it. You have the name. If the device is connected to the internet at that time, or some document, you have the IP address. You have the so many information. So files like PDFs and docs files, that is a Word document, normally contain hidden data, including the original author and software version used, and a timeline of every time the file was saved. So this one can help us to know the kind of machine that produced the document, whose machine produced the document, and what date. If a document is produced and backdated, The metadata can reveal that it has been validated, that it has been edited, it has been validated, edited, or that that document was not originally owned by the author. So many things can be revealed through the metadata analysis. In digital document examination, apart from metadata analysis, another thing we use very important is hash value. Hash value is the total sum of the bits that you have in a document. That is the value of the weight you use that one. So to ensure a digital document hasn't been altered during an investigation, forensic experts calculate a digital fingerprint. If even one comma is changed, the hash value changes entirely. So, which means if from the beginning the digital fingerprint has been calculated and it get to a stage, maybe some days or some months later, if we recalculate the digital fingerprint and the value change, maybe the value increase. If the value increase, that means something has been added, and if the value decrease, that means something has been changed. From even ordinary dots, we change the value, we change the hash value. Can help us to know whether a document has been tampered with or not. See on digital document examination. So another thing we use for this is a layer analysis. In many PDFs, the original text exists on hidden layers beneath the visible forgery. So forensic software can strip these layers to reveal the original content. When deposing a document expert or reviewing evidence, what are the checklists for lawyers? To effectively challenge or defend the document's authenticity, you should focus on the chain of evidence, and the specific technical markers of the medium. So I will be talking on the tactical checklist. Check on printed document is the trash mask, marks. So as the expert, if they identify drum defects, if a document has 3 spots in a vertical line and the suspect printer produces those same spots, you have a direct link. Document is a color print. Ask, did you analyze yellow dot steganography? If the dots reveal the document was printed on Tuesday in 2024, but the contract is dated 2022, the case is over. And lastly on that, micro topography. Ask about the fusion of the toner. On genuine document, the toner sits on top of the fibers. The toner sits on top of the fibers. In some high-end digital forgeries, the ink or toner might look too perfect, indicating a different production method than the one claimed. The checklist for the photocopy checklist, that is the forgery sheet. Look at the alignment and overlays. Request a transparency overlay test. If the signature on page 10 of a contract perfectly aligned with a signature from a different page or document, it's a mathematical impossible for a man to sign twice identically. It is a cut and paste. Such a signature is a cut and paste. Also look at the edge interference. Look for shadow lines around the signature or specific paragraphs. These lines often indicate that a piece of paper was taped onto a master sheet before photocopying. And lastly, on photocopy document, The platen fingerprint asks if any extraneous marks appears across multiple documents in the discovery production. That is scratches on the copier glass. And that is the digital document checklist. The digital document checklist, that's the metadata audit. The created versus modified paradox is the first thing that we are going to use. If a file's created date is after its modified date, it usually means the file was copied to a new drive. If the modified date is after the date of the legal dispute, the content was likely altered. Then let's also check hidden layers in PDF. Ask the forensic examiner to peel the PDF. Sophisticated software can reveal layers where Photoshop can help to reveal layers where a signature or a date was placed over the original text using a tool like Photoshop. Even Photoshop itself can be used to reveal it. Then another checklist on digital document is software version inconsistency. If a document is dated 2018 but the metadata shows it was created using Microsoft Word 2021, the document is a backdated forgery. Let's move on to discovery strategy, that is what to request. To give your forensic expert the best chance of success, your request for production should include the following: the native files, not just PDFs, but the original docs, XLS, that is Excel, that's email, and so on and so forth. Let the native file be requested for. Then the device logs, access logs for the printer or the server where the document was stored. The access log is the chronological order or how the device was accessed. So the hardware also is one of those we must request it for. If possible, move to requester the actual printer or typewriter involved for exemplar testing. And lastly, the ESDA results. Specifically request indented written analysis on any multi-page handwritten or signed physical contrast. Let's move on to strategic deposition questions. Strategic deposition questions. You have to ask some questions like this: is the document a first generation original or high quality reproduction? That is where you have a question document to be examined. You need to know whether the exemplar is exemplar and even the disputed, whether both are first generation original or high quality reproduction. Then does the ink or tonal chemistry match the era in which the document was allegedly signed? If it is no, then that's a red flag to forgery. Did you perform a high value comparison to ensure the digital file I'm looking at today is exact same one collected at the start of the case? Did you perform a high value comparison to ensure the digital file I'm looking at today is the exact same one collected at the start of the case? And lastly, are there any ghost impressions on page 2 or any page that correspond to the written on page 1? By focusing on these technicals, by focusing on these technical tests, you move from the argument from a he said, she said scenario to one based on immutable physical and digital laws. This is where we are going to stop today. God bless you. Bye bye for today.